Hello, welcome to Mushabbar. Today I want to talk about visit visa. Maybe you want to visit Sweden because you want to see this beautiful country. You want to come here as a tourist. Or maybe you want to come here because you have a business meeting, or maybe you want to attend a conference, or maybe you want to meet your friends or relatives, or maybe you want to have a medical treatment, or maybe you want to do some kind of research studies in Sweden that don't last for more than, for example, 90 days, or maybe you want to come here for some kind of religious activity, or maybe you want to come here for volunteer work. So there are many reasons why you may need a visit visa to Sweden. So today we are going to talk about that. Also, at the end of the video, I want to discuss briefly about why people don't get visit visa, why their visas may be rejected. I am the first ever international master's student from Pakistan to Sweden. In 1996, I joined Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg. As I have already talked many times in my previous videos, that whenever you need to know something about immigration to Sweden, you have to look at the official website from the Swedish Migration Agency. So let's now look at that website directly, what they say about the visit visa. So this is the official website from the Swedish Migration Agency, and they handle all kind of immigration activities. So they will serve your application at the end, and they handle all kind of applications. I have already talked about it in my previous videos, so please look at my previous videos if you need to know more about general things of Swedish Migration Agency. So if you want to come to Sweden as a visitor, you need a visit visa. Then you need just to look here, apply for, and then you need to apply for visiting Sweden. And here you can find all the information related to a visit visa. And you can get a visit visa for up to 90 days or for more than 90 days. If you are going to get or if you are going to apply a visit visa for 90 days, it is just called visit visa. It is also called Schengen visa because you can use this visa in Schengen countries. But if you want to apply for a visit visa for more than 90 days, then it is called visit permit or visit residence permit. And we will look at both of these. More or less the requirements are same, other than you have to justify the need for a visa for more than 90 days. You need to justify anything that you do. So in both cases, you have to justify your application. So let's look at visit visa for less than 90 days. You don't need visit visa to come to Sweden if you are from EU country, or if you have a residence permit from EU country, then you can come without visit visa. But if you are not a member of EU, if your country is not a member of EU, then you need a visit visa if you want to travel to Sweden in most cases. Maybe Sweden has some special agreements for some countries. You have to look through these rules and regulations from this website to know that. But generally, if you are not a member of EU, you have to apply for a visit visa. And here you can read everything about what is needed if you want to visit Sweden for less than 90 days. And all those cases that I mentioned, they are written here. This case is for relatives and friends. If you want to come to Sweden to meet your relatives, or if you want to come to Sweden to attend conference, or maybe you need a tourist visa, or maybe you want to come here for a medical treatment, or maybe you want to perform some religious activities, or maybe you want to do some kind of research, or maybe you are part of some doctoral program that requires some education in Sweden for less than 30 days, 90 days, or maybe you want to come here as a volunteer. You want to do some kind of volunteer work. During coronavirus time, Sweden needed a lot of volunteers. So maybe you could make use of this application then. Or maybe you have another reason to do a volunteer work, or there could be an internship. So for all these cases, you can apply for a visit visa, and the requirements are more or less same. So let's look here first. If you want to come to Sweden to meet your friends or relatives, and more or less the requirements are same in all cases. You need to have a valid passport, and it should not expire soon. There should be good enough validity period. You should be able to describe the reason of your visit. Whatever is the reason, you have to describe. Don't lie. Whatever is the genuine reason, state that genuine reason. Then in this case, you need an invitation letter from your friend or from your relative. In other cases, you also need, for example, invitation letter to attend a business meeting or conference, and also you need justification for all other things. For example, if you want to come here for medical treatment, you need a letter, a certificate from a doctor that you need to travel to Sweden because you can't go anywhere else for your medical treatment, and so on. So in all cases, you need some kind of letter or justification. So if you want to visit your relative or friend, then you need a visit invitation letter from your friend or from your relative. Now, in this invitation letter, he has to clearly state, your guest, your host has to clearly state that who is going to pay for what kind of cost, and he has to state what kind of responsibilities he will take. And then your application has to sync with what is stated in invitation letter. So normally in the invitation letter, there are questions regarding who will pay different kind of costs and who is going to take your responsibility. And he can take zero responsibility. He can take all the responsibilities. He can take some responsibilities. Whatever is the case in all of those scenarios, you can get visa. Even if he state that he don't want to take any responsibility, you can still get your visit visa if the embassy trusts on you that you are a trusted person, and so on. Then you need a proof that you have a good medical insurance, and it should cover all the costs related to your medical treatment if you need that in Sweden. Something if something wrong happens, and so on, and your insurance coverage should be at least for 30,000 euro. This is a huge amount, but you need insurance for that amount. Then also you need to attach a proof that you have a good kind of financial assets. You can afford 450 SEK for each day that you stay in Sweden. Also remember that visit visa, when you get from Sweden, it is a Schengen visa, and then you have to state, I think in written, that you intend to leave the whole Schengen region and Sweden as well at the end of your visa or before the expiry of your visa. You also need to attach a recent photograph with your application. In some cases, maybe you need to attach some additional documents if your local embassy requires that. Otherwise, these are the basic requirements that you have to fulfill. You can go through them in detail later on. And then we don't need to dig into each of these cases because the requirements are more or less same. Maybe you need to know something here. If you want to visit Sweden for medical reasons, then you have to attach a medical certificate from your country that you need a treatment from Sweden and they cannot do that. And many people have in the past misused this visa. People are coming here for medical treatment, but they're not going back. That causes issues. Issue because the next applicant from your country, he may not get visa, or maybe there will be more stringent requirements. Maybe there will be more scrutiny. And also the people who are living in Sweden, if someone is going to misuse this visa or any other visa, they will become burden on the Swedish society. So rest of the people who are paying taxes in Sweden, they will have to pay for your costs. So if someone is going to misuse, then everyone in Sweden has an impact due to that. And right now the elections are ongoing. Uh, Actually, today was the last day of election, and there are some parties in Sweden who want to make these rules even more stringent because people are misusing them. So please don't misuse it because, as I said, there has been cases in Sweden, especially in the case of medical treatment. People visited Sweden due to medical treatment, but they misused the system. They never went back, and that is causing issues in Sweden. I have gone through now all the basic requirements, and I think you are clever enough to read it. These are some of the things that you should remember. You must apply a visit visa before you travel to Schengen area. So you have to be outside from Schengen area. You must not apply earlier than 6 months before you travel. So you have to apply earlier, but not too early. And ideally, you should apply at the embassy of the country which is your last destination. So if you travel to many countries in the Schengen area, then you have to apply visa at the embassy of that country which is at your last destination. So I think these are all the information that you need. You can go through them later on. In some cases, you can apply your visa online. Actually, for very limited cases, I think from only these countries, you can apply your visa online. For other countries, as it is written here, you have to contact your embassies. In most cases, your embassies have made an agreement with the service provider and you have to apply via the service provider. And you can read here what is applicable to your country. I think in most cases you have to talk with your embassy, and they could also have some additional requirements on top of what I have already covered. Let's look here. After you have submitted your application, it will take some time before they process, but normally it takes about 2 weeks, but your embassy could take more time to let you know the results. There could be more workload at your home embassy. These are some of the facts, maybe you should know that. Normally you get visit visa for up to 90 days as it is written here, but you can use these 90 days within 180 days. In some cases, but not in all the cases, you may get 15 days extra. So if you have applied, for example, for 2 months of visit visa, maybe you get 15 extra days just to give you some flexibility. You can also get a visit visa with multiple entries and multiple exits. And in those cases, you can also get the time duration from 180 days for a period of up to 5 years. So you can get a multiple entry visit visa for up to 5 years, but during each of your trip, you should not stay in Sweden for more than 90 days. You can read everything about it from here. You can always extend your visit visa, but remember that if you have already spent 90 days in Sweden, then the maximum visit visa that you can get is 90 days. After that, you can apply for extension, but you have to apply for visit permit or visit residence permit because when the visit becomes for more than 90 days, it's called visit permit. And then you have to apply for that. You can read more information here. So this is more or less everything that you know about a visit visa. Now let's look at what is needed if you want to visit for more than 90 days. Basically, it's the same requirement and it's the same kind of reasons. For all these reasons that we have discussed earlier, you may also need multiple entry visa, but you have to justify why you need multiple entry visa. If you are a frequent business traveler, you have often business meetings in Sweden, or maybe you often need to visit your relative, or maybe you need a continuous medical treatment. Whatever the reason, you have to justify. If you can justify the reason, you can get a multiple entry visa that can last from 180 days up to 5 years, depending on your needs. If you want to read some more information, I think you can read more. You can browse all these links. You can look at the application forms. You can find all the application forms here. Now let's talk about why people don't get visit visa. During my life in Sweden, and that lasts about 3 decades, I have invited mainly my family members to Sweden, and there has not been a single case when they have been rejected. So if you have filled the application properly, and the person who is inviting you, if he has prepared a good invitation letter, then most likely you are not going to be rejected. You will get a visit visa. If you qualify, they are not going to reject you. They are going to give you visa. But your application should be in sync with the invitation letter. But some people often get rejected because their application does not sync correctly with the invitation. In invitation letter, people have written something else. Your host has written something else, and in your application, your application is contradicting with the invitation letter. If that happens, you are not going to get visa. For example, maybe your host has written he don't take any responsibility. All the costs will be you will be responsible for all the costs, but in your application you are stating that your host will take care of you. Then it's contradicting. There is nothing wrong about if the host is writing that he is not responsible for you. That's perfectly okay. You can still get the visa, but then you have to justify everything in your application. You have to prepare application in sync with your host. So please read the invitation letter and then fill your application form and then submit your application. People often get an invitation letter, they don't even read invitation letter, and then they just apply to the embassy. But embassy or the authorities, they are going to read both your application and the invitation letter. So please prepare your application correctly, spend some time, and prepare application in a good way, sync it well with your host, and then I think everything will go well. Number two reason is that the applicants who have applied before you, they have misused the system. Like I mentioned you an example of medical treatment. Some people came to Sweden for medical treatment and they have misused the system. Now it is going to have an impact on the future applicants. So if the applicants prior to you have misused the system, you may see an impact on your application. Even if your application is correct, now there will be more stringent ways of looking. Authorities will look at your application with the context of what happened in the past. So I think this is also one of the reason. And the number three reason could be threshold. Maybe there are too many applicants, and the Swedish authorities, they have some threshold in their mind, or maybe they have already calculated some threshold. They only want to allow certain number of people, and if there are too many applicants, maybe they can't handle all those applicants, so they are rejecting few applications. So these could be the reasons of rejection. But in most cases, if you have done your job well, if you have read all these rules and regulations, you have spent your time, you have good invitation letter, and your application is in sync with the invitation letter, in most of these cases, there is not going to be any rejection. As I have mentioned earlier that in my experience, when I have written an invitation letter, no one have ever rejected. they all got visit visa. So that is all for today. Thank you and goodbye. If you like this video, please share this video to the whole world. Spread this video everywhere. We are confident that this channel is going to have a huge impact. This channel is going to change some of the lives of the people. So please subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon and stay tuned. Thank you to all of you. Goodbye.